Hi everybody, this is Josua Hannink from Future-Morphs here, all the way from the Netherlands. Well, if you're watching this on my channel, then hallo allemaal, ik kom uit Nederland. If you're watching this on Sarah's channel, wave hello Sarah. Sarah's from America. That's why we'll do this this interview in English, because obviously Sarah does not speak Dutch. I sort of reached out to Sarah because I saw she made a video, I think about 3 months ago, I guess.
Yeah, it was about 2 months ago, I think,
yeah,
somewhere like between there.
And because Sarah also has a YouTube channel which sort of is dedicated to cornsnakes, just like mine. And she talked about some morphs that were sort of, well, new in the market, or maybe unproven, or maybe even proven to be not morphs, because some of them were, let's say, a little sketchy. But she also came across my Mimosa cornsnake, and well, she just talked briefly about it. And some of the sort of my followers, they also mentioned like, "Hey, Joshua, did you see this video?" So of course I watched the video, and that's why I sort of contacted Sarah, like, "Hey, if you want to know more about the Mimosa corn, it's my creation, basically. So we can do a video together about it." So, well, I like to talk about the Mimosa corn, of course, because look, Mimosa corns are cool.
I love that logo.
And also, of course, well, it's never bad to educate people about a new morph, basically. Because, yeah, I only sort of introduced it this year, so it's pretty new, so I get a lot of questions about it. So a video like this is also good for my audience, because, well, yeah, it's just a lot of information in one video. So
and I guess I'll introduce myself. Hi guys, I am Sarah from Sarah's Snake Shop, and if you're watching, I am in the US, and Josh here is in the Netherlands, and we wanted to just sit and do this podcast together about the mimosas. Is something I'm really interested in hearing about, the history of those. As you guys know, I'm really into the history of morphs, and just kind of deep diving into different morphs, and I figured he could talk as much as he wants about mimosas, and if we have time left, I do have one of my Halo corns out if anybody wants to hear about that, or we can talk about that. So yeah, I'm kind of all ears here. I love talking about different morphs, and I'm really excited about hearing about the mimosa and how that came about, and when you started noticing that you had something different, and just that whole story.
yeah, well, it all started in let me think, 2013. By the way, I've been breeding corn snakes since 2003, so I've been in this hobby and this job for me now for a long time. But I think it was in 2013 I got a hold of a well, it was sold as an Hypotessera female, and back then, because now you think, oh, Hypotessera, you can find hundreds of them out there if you look for them, maybe. But back then, it was sort of quite a unique combination. And I really liked the pattern. It was super busy. Like, I never seen a Tessera like that before. So it was bred by a Dutch breeder as well. So I said, well, I want to buy it because I liked it. So, well, I raised it up, of course, and the first year I bred her to to a ghost motley het amel, but turned out, well, I bought it as a strawberry ghost, but back then, strawberry, red factor, red coat, it was basically all a mix of everything. So I don't have that male anymore. So to be honest, I'm not totally sure what he was genetically, but I got quite some cool babies. But the problem was also that not all babies were hypo. And of course, if you do a hypo to a ghost, you would expect all hypos. So I was like, that's strange. But because the male was labeled as a strawberry ghost, I thought, well, maybe that's not a real ghost, but maybe it's sort of a red factor enery mix or whatever. So I sort of blamed the strange outcome on the male. So the year after, I have it all on my website, by the way. If I'm rambling, or if you ever want to look up something, go to FutureMorphs.com/mimosa. You will find everything. But the next year, I think it was let me check on my, I think it was a red factor snow male. Yeah, probably. Well, it's too much information for me even to read.
I
But
understand.
so I bred her in 2015. I got the strange babies. So again, I bred her in 2016 and 17, and then I sort of figured out, it's an ultramel Tessera, but she was head hypo as well. So that's why I got like 50% hypo babies.
Okay.
And she also proved out head motley in the first year. So that was sort of a bonus.
Yeah.
And genetically, I asked the breeder, like, oh, can she be something else than hypo? And she said, no, that's not possible because, I bred her myself, but it turned out it was possible. So little,
It
well,
happens.
it happens. But at least I bred quite some cool babies out of it. But I sort of blamed it in the beginning on the red factor part that I was using, because I got really bright looking babies. And I was like, that must be the red factor influence. Also keep in mind, because, well, it's 2021 now, but 6, 7, 8 years ago, red factor was also not a big thing. Like not everybody knew how it was genetically and how it worked. And so, well, basically I was just breeding pink snakes without really knowing what was in there. Also because of the strange genetics of the female and stuff. So finally, in 18 and 19, I think, I noticed that even without red factor involved, I got some really strange looking babies. They were almost a little bit like buff or orange combinations.
Okay.
So I labeled some as buff ? And because you had really like red looking missing blacks, but also some orange looking missing blacks. So I was like, that's something strange. So the first 2 years I called it plus line, because I just knew there was something extra. So I just sold them as, it's a snow motley plus, because something is in there, but
don't know, right?
And also, well, I never charged like crazy prices or something, because I knew there was something going on. But if you cannot prove what it is, then it's quite annoying, of course. Because how the hell can you ask a lot of money for just something without knowing what it is? So I just sold them for most prices, basically, and just said to those people, well, this will become a real cool animal. So if you ever breed it, you know that something extra might be involved.
The missing blacks, is that amelanistic then, which is what we would say?
Yeah,
okay.
we
just kind of trying to keep a lot of the because I know that my audience may not know what missing black means, but they might know what amelanistic means. So just kind of putting it out there for our half.
I was even thinking that you might use missing black, because we use amel or amelanistic as well. At least most people, or sometimes albino for beginners. But I thought in America missing black was still a term that was used a lot. So.
It is. I see it occasionally, but most people, like you said, either albino or amelanistic is kind of the term we go with.
Okay. Well, no, that's good to know, because amelanistic is the correct term, of course. So.
Yes.
But
so please continue.
So in I kept quite some animals during the years, because I was just thinking, whoa, these are like really cool red factor snows, and I mixed it with Ultramel Annery and with Ghost, and I made some combinations, and they're all really pink and stuff. Especially some of the snows really get like green around the saddles, and also on the belly they get some green colors. But still, I was not really sure what it was. I was just label it as plus line, still also for myself. And then when I made the breeding plans for this year, I decided, okay, let me really go back for each breeding animal I have, and let me just check which lines do they come from. So this year was basically the first year that I really bred, well, now Mimosa to Mimosa, and I also had some Mimosa with red factor mixed. And so I didn't really look for the coolest patterns or coolest colors, but just basically line breeding for Mimosa stuff. And then, when I got the results, it was sort of obvious that there's something more was going on, because even without red factor involved or something, I get really pink babies, but they are not, well, in general, there's quite some differences between one Mimosa and the other Mimosa, but they all get some form of pink, but they are not as bright, basically not really orange pink or salmon pink like most red factor snows and stuff will become. But sort of more soft overall color. Really busy parents, especially in the Tesseras. Especially the non-Tesseras have like a lot of frosting in the saddles.
Okay.
Also in the Motleys and stuff. But yeah, yeah, we talked about you might be putting some pictures somewhere in your screen.
Yes, I'll try to as we go on, I'll get pictures and just put them up on the side as we talk so people can see what we're talking about.
Yeah, please do. That's way better, of course. So, well, the Tesseras are really busy, and they also get quite some yellow once they get older. And of course, all normal corn snakes get more yellow in the neck, but it extends to almost usually like about half the body to the side. But some also get really yellow, like on the top of their nose, and even sometimes on their head and stuff. So. At the moment, to be honest, I'm pretty well. I'm sure that something is going on. I'm not really sure genetically how it works. At least I know that if you do a mimosa to a totally unrelated non-mimosa, non-red factor, you will also get some mimosa-looking babies, but they are never as bright as well. Let's call it maybe a super mimosa or whatever. But so it's not simple recessive, I know that, but I don't know if it's dominant or co-dominant or incomplete dominant, or maybe line breeding is. I think line breeding is also involved at least a little bit, but I'm not totally sure how it works genetically in that way. But I'm 100% sure that something was going on. That's why this year was the first year that I decided, okay, this needs at least a label on it. So I'm not claiming this is the newest morph or the coolest hype, and everybody should get one because they're cool.
Well, of course.
But I'm a little biased, of course.
Yes.
So I'm really sure that it is something. The reason that I called it mimosa is because a mimosa is a cocktail. So it's basically sort of a play on words on tequila sunrise, because that's also a cocktail.
Okay.
So I
like that.
It's a mix of orange juice and champagne.
I like that a lot. That's very cute.
Get this, by the way, on FutureMorphs.shop. Just some shameless plug.
But I have one too if you want. SarahSnakeshop.com.
Good. So
since we're doing shameless plugs.
Yeah, well, it's a free commercial. It's fine.
Yep, exactly.
So yeah, I called it Mimosa sort of as an almost like a tribute to Tequila Sunrise, because it has traits of Tequila Sunrise, but it's not the same. They look quite different, but they have some similarities. And Tequila Sunrise is also one of those. Well, I don't know if you would call it a morph or a gene or a line breeding, but nobody really knows what's going on. But they constantly produce cool animals, basically.
Yes. Yep.
So that's why the name Mimosa. I hope, well, at least I got 2 Tequila Sunrise animals from the USA this year as well. So I want to mix it as well to see what's going on or to see what happens. But yeah, they are just babies, of course. So yeah, it will take
a few years, but
yeah. So
that'll be a really great project.
Yeah, I think so too. At least I'm curious. So and I got some Spectre Ghosts as well to mix it with, because that's also the Heliconia and the bright-looking animals, and so I just want to mix it with everything that could sort of be similar and just see what's going on. So
yeah, I think that's a really good idea. I think that's a good way to approach it, is kind of test it with different things, but also you keep your own line pure as well. You're just kind of seeing what you might have in there, and I think that's a really good way to approach it.
Yeah, true. I agree. And well, somebody has to make the combination. So and I like Tequila Sunrise by look anyway, so I don't think you will get ugly corn snakes
right
in general. So so those are at least some of my future plans. At the moment, I have Mimosa mixed with a lot of other genes, but almost everything has Honoree, Snow, Ultramel Honoree, Motley, Hypo, and Tessera is a lot in the mix, because I started with the Snows and the Ghosts and stuff to mix it. So
right.
At the moment, well, I have a lot of combination, but it's all basically in that sort of Honoree, Amel, Ultramel complex. So I want to outcross it with, well, basically everything. But lavender could be nice, because they're also really purple, of course. Maybe Sunkiss would be cool, but I think you can just combine it with everything. I just don't know what the best combinations are at the moment, but.
Right. I think that that's really awesome. Even if you find out that it's not a new gene mutation, I think that it's, you know, that you have a line that you have been keeping up. And so even if it's not a gene mutation, you still have your Mimosa line of corn snakes. And you know that they're special regardless of if they prove to be a gene mutation or not. Similar to Tequila Sunrise, like I think we've mostly proven that the original was an ultramel anery, but we still have the Tequila Sunrise line. And so even if it's not a new thing, it's still your own line, and it still is unique from everything else that's out there.
True, I agree. And also, it was really difficult for me sort of to price my mimosas because, well, it is something new and they are cool, but still, I didn't want to make them really expensive. So I think the most, well, I don't know about if you know what the prices in the Netherlands or in Europe are, but usually the prices are way lower. I looked at your video about USA prices and double and triple morphs, and I'm so jealous. If I could get those prices here, I would be living in a castle basically. So, but prices are way lower here. So I guess I'm selling mimosas somewhere between 100 euros and maybe 250 euros, depending on the look and all the other morphs involved.
I think that's a reasonable price.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, I'm also not claiming it's the newest morph, and it's like, and also, well, I think it's cool, but like, let's say Palmetto is the best example, or maybe Scaleless. Everybody can see, whoa, that's something spectacular that we have never seen before. And with Mimosa, especially as babies, when they don't have all their color development yet, yeah, I can see that they're cool, and probably you can see that they're cool because, yeah, you have been breeding snakes for quite a while as well. But yeah, for a beginner, it's difficult to see the difference. So,
right.
Yeah, I don't want to ask like crazy prices for something that's not really even proven how it works genetically and stuff. So maybe someday price will go up if I can prove out how it works exactly. But at the moment, I'm fine with these prices. I think it's sort of a good value for what you get. So.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I think especially if you ever, if you refine the line and you get a look that you really like that you can reproduce, that's kind of more consistent every time, then you can kind of more make it your own and then kind of raise your prices accordingly, especially the more work you put into the line. You want to make sure that you're compensated for your time. And it's hard to balance that sometimes. I understand that. It's difficult to balance the amount of time that you put in versus how much money you can charge. Especially, I don't know how many snakes do you have, give or take, that you breed?
Well, for breeding, I have about 100 females, and about 60 males or something. And of course, some grow-ups and yearlings and stuff. But for breeding, around 100 females. So.
Okay. That's a pretty decent sized operation.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. That's
Yep. Is it your full-time job?
Yeah, well, I do some other things as well, but breeding snakes is my main occupation at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. That's I think where you and I differ a little bit because snakes have never been my full-time job, but they did pay my mortgage a couple times this year, so I can't complain.
No, well, but even because especially like young people who are just starting in the corn snakes sometimes say like, oh, Joshua, you have so many cool snakes. I also want to have so many snakes. And I usually say, yeah, no, you don't. It's,
no, you don't.
it's a lot of work. But yeah, I started with corn snakes in the year 2000. So I've been keeping snakes for 21 years now. And it just slowly grows from 2 to 3 to 5 to 7. And I've been doing it professionally. Well, I did it sort of part-time but also as a business since 2018. But I just started, well, not even 2 years ago to just do it full-time because I always had a side job because that's the safe route to take, of course. And but yeah, in sort of February 2020, I started really only doing snakes basically. So. Yeah, 20 years in the making and a lot of work and stuff. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, well, but it grew out of a hobby, so that's why it still doesn't feel like work to me, and that's the most important, I think. So.
Right, I feel the same way. I don't know if snakes will ever be my full-time job, but I do it because I love the snakes and I love selling snakes to people who want a good pet and just sort of seeing how they grow and seeing how much other people enjoy them. That's part of why I love doing it personally.
Yeah, true. Well, of course, as a business, you have to think about money, because without money, then your business will be gone really quick. So of course I have to sell snakes, but the majority of at least the number of animals for me will go to wholesalers and pet shops and stuff like that. So they basically pay the base, and all the cool stuff I can sell to hobbyists and other breeders and stuff like that. So that's sort of a good balance. So I really like to go to reptile shows and stuff, just to talk to people and see what other people have. And it's way more fun than just to sell it to a wholesaler or whatever. But you also need to get the cash, of course. So
right, yep, you got to balance it.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's awesome. I'm super excited to hear the history of all of that, because that's kind of always been my thing is where did everything start? How did it start? And where is it today? And I don't know. I really like that story. So
well, good. Well, if you have any questions now, of course, just shoot. Otherwise, if people have questions, just go to my website and you can find it there, or send me a message on Facebook or whatever. I reply to everybody anyway, so that's always fine. But if you have something that you think that I missed or whatever, then go ahead and ask, of course. But
well, you did say you've been breeding since 2003, and you had snakes before that. So you said you started owning them in 2000. What made you decide to go from owning to breeding?
To be honest, my first breeding was an accident. I was one of those people who just had males and females together, and
I was too. I understand.
Yeah, like almost everybody does. My first clutch was in 2003, and that was basically an accident clutch. But of course, I did try to hatch them and stuff. I did hatch them, and then from there on, I never stopped. I never missed a year of breeding, and basically every year, it became. Well, I think it became better, but some people would call it worse. But so I got more and more clutches each year, and I guess my parents were sort of happy when I finally left the house with all the snakes.
Mine too.
So,
yeah.
But
I understand.
They did support me, but also they were thinking, well, you could also do it a little less. But
my parents were the same way. I understand.
So basically, from 2003, I started, and sort of never looked back. Just kept breeding, kept improving my incubators and stuff like that, and my genetic skills and whatever. But so.
What do you mostly use for incubating now?
I made some. They are basically sort of wooden terrariums with glass sliding doors. With a heat cable and a ventilator to circulate the air.
Okay.
And I've just I just made them on size, so all my the egg laying boxes can sort of fit in there perfectly.
Okay, good idea.
That works quite well.
That's awesome. I know I started with a chicken egg incubator. That was my first one. Took out the rotators, and it was just there for heat and air circulation, which that quickly became not the best option. Then now I just incubate in the snake room. The snake room is at 82 degrees, and so they go up on a shelf for 65 days, and that's it.
Yeah, I could do that as well in my snake room because it's also warm enough, but I like to have a little bit more control over it. And sometimes I'm an idiot, so I'm just worried if I take the boxes from the top that I might fall or something. I don't want to risk it. So for me, it's safer to have them in an incubator. Yep. But I sort of started the same way. I used an old aquarium and I put some styrofoam on the sides to make it insulate better, which of course doesn't really help at all if you do it that way. But you just try and you learn basically. So.
Yep. You live and learn. Yeah, it's a trial and error process.
Yeah, for sure. What about you? Because you told about at least I don't know how long we are going, about half an hour or something maybe.
26 minutes, something like 25 minutes, something like that.
Okay. Do you want to show your Halo because you invented the Halo? I guess.
Kind of.
You discovered.
I would say so. I'll go ahead and get him out. I have him over here in one of these enclosures. This is my yearling male from 2020. All of my adults are down for brumation right now, so I wasn't gonna bring any of them up just for a video, but I don't know if my camera will pick up. I don't know if they'll even focus on him, and my lighting is not helping very well. Hold on, let's see if I can. Hold on. We're working on it.
Well, you can see, yeah,
Maybe.
my screen is also, it's a little overlighted, but
Let me try this.
you could see some of the,
I can't tell what you can see.
yeah, no, the position is good.
But you can see that he's got some yellow. I'll put up pictures of the halos when I'm editing. But so Halo was one that I accidentally produced in my first clutch, which again was an accidental clutch. I don't even know how it started, but I just had snakes and I worked in a pet store, and someone asked me one day, they came in and they said, I have this snake and I can't take care of it anymore. Do you want it? And I said, sure. And so I took it home, and it was just a male amelanistic corn snake, nothing special about him really. They said he was a year old, but he was almost 5 feet long. And so I think that he was probably older than that. But so I'm not 100% sure. Maybe they just had him for a year and they didn't really understand snakes very well. But ever since then, or I guess after that, while I continued to work in that pet store, people considered me to be the drop-off place for snakes. And so I ended up getting 2 females from someone, which I didn't know they were females. And I had one like 50-gallon enclosure at the time. So I thought, okay, I'm going to take the females home, not knowing they were females. You know, I'm going to take these 2 snakes home, put them in with my other snake temporarily until I can get them their own enclosures. And then, of course, within that very small window, both females ended up getting gravid. So hatched the eggs. There was a normal and a caramel motley. And the normal was set for amel and anery, and the caramel motley was also had amel and anery. So the caramel laid first, and she had a nice clutch of about a dozen eggs, and 2 snows hatched out. One was kind of mean, and one was kind of nice. So I decided to keep the one that was nicer and sell the one that was kind of mean. And I kept in contact with the person who had that mean one for a long time. He was nice to them. He just didn't like me, I guess. But they would bring him back once in a while and show him to me because they lived locally. We were kind of friends. So they would bring him back, and he was just very plain, just a very plain looking snow. But my snow kept getting more and more yellow around the borders and in the checkers. And it was a very stark difference. And nobody really seemed to have an answer for me when I was asking back then. That was back in 2011, 2012. And nobody had an answer. There was no, a lot of people were referring to green blotched, but mine didn't have yellow like in the saddles. It was just on the borders. And one day someone said, you know, that might be inheritable. You should try breeding it and seeing what you can get out of it. And by 2014, or in 2014, I bred a completely unrelated female snow to a male gold dust motley, because at that time I had branched off into different projects, not really like caring about the yellow too much. I just had my yellow snows and didn't really think a whole lot of it at the time. And I ended up getting more of these yellow bordered snows from this completely unrelated pair. And so someone said, hey, you should try to breed those and see if you can get anything out of them or see if you can reproduce it. So I bred the first albino male that had been dropped off to me to the regular snow female that had produced in 2014. And like none of their babies ended up having the yellow borders. So I said, you know, it's not recessive, because if it was, then these 2 snakes would produce at least some of them. And you can see it in amelanistic based morphs like snows or just regular amels, and none of them got any of that yellow. So then I bred the male that showed it visually, that I held back from my very first clutch, to it was a normal that was het for snow, but her mom was wild caught and her dad was just a regular snow. So I knew that there was not going to be any chance of this yellow being in the line anywhere. And sure enough, of some of the amels and snows that came out of that clutch, I got a good handful of these yellow bordered babies. So I knew then that it was dominant or something. And so then I just started kind of collecting halo snows from people or other green blotch snows, stuff like that. And just sort of breeding them together, keeping track of who produced what, and eventually found out that when I bred a halo to a halo, I got like a good number of green blotched babies as well. And then even when I would breed a halo to a halo, I'd get some normal babies. So that led me to believe that it was like incomplete dominant. So halo to halo would make some halos, some regular snows, and some green blotch snows. But this last year, or not this last year, in 2020, the year that this boy was born, I bred a green blotched female to just a regular male snow with no additional yellow at all. And all of the babies did show some yellow, but some of them were green blotched, and they should have just all been halo. So it's still a little bit of a mystery, but it's at least inheritable in the first generation. So I don't know if it's dominant or incomplete dominant, but that's the basic story. I'm working on kind of refining the look a little bit better. And this guy, I know that people can't see him. I will just post a picture of him on the screen, but he is probably the epitome of the look that I really wanted, because he's got really thick oak-tea borders. The original male that sired all of this, that amelanistic that was given to me, was kind of an oak-tea looking male. So I think that he had some very like oak-tea stock thick borders that he passed down. So I'm working on just continuing to add oak-tea to the project, and have sort of like a higher end sort of snow-tea halo type of thing going on. And this boy really, like, you can't see, like I said, I'll post pictures up, but his yellow borders are 2 and in some places 3 scales thick. So he's got that nice oak-tea look to him as well.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm hoping that other people will also start working with the project, and because I've sold it to a lot of people who were planning to do that. We're planning to kind of keep working with it and keep track of, you know, what they produce and how they produced it, so that it's not just a one-man show, you know, one-person show being me, because I don't have the means nor the space to keep every snake that I want to. So it would be super awesome if other people started breeding the halos and keeping track of which ones got yellow, which ones didn't. And there's a few people out there working on it, and I'm really hoping that they also post their findings. I put my findings most of the time on the cornsnakes.com forum. So I'm hoping that forum doesn't go away. Ian's Vivarium forum is now shut down, so that was kind of sad. And that was just a lot of history lost, I feel like. And there was also the I can't remember if it was CC Corns forum that was deleted a long time ago. So hoping that the cornsnakes.com forum stays up, but we'll see.
And about the halo, do you mix it? Did you mix it with anything else besides snow and amel and stuff, or can you also have like just a wild type halo, for instance, or?
You can have a wild type halo. The issue is you can't see the halo in anything that has melanin. The closest I've come is I had a very, very, very light colored ultramel anery that came out of the not original, but the gold dust to the snow breeding. And when she was young, you could see the it was just sort of a yellow undertone in her saddle borders, that, I mean, I'm sure that she was a halo, but once she got older and she got a little bit darker, you couldn't really see it anymore. And I've seen it in a few sun-kissed before, just naturally, especially you'll see it in like anery sun-kissed and stuff like that. But as far as like a normal halo, technically, yes, it can exist, but it's sort of like you can have pied without diffused and you just don't see the pied. And so you can have a snake that's het pied or homozygous pied, but if it's homozygous pied and not homozygous diffused, you can't see the pied. But because they're separate gene mutations, it's there even though you can't see it. And so I think it's similar with halo and anything that has melanin. You can only see it once you remove the melanin. And, I don't know. I guess melanin kind of covers it over. I'm not really sure.
Well, yeah, I can imagine if you have a layer of yellow and a layer of black, then you don't see the yellow, of course. So, yeah.
Right. And a lot of people have speculated that caramel might be causing it because both of my lines came from a caramel. But I've also had some friends of mine kind of doing their own projects. And one of my friends had a Halo AML that she bred to a Halo Blizzard. And the AMLs that came out of that, like there were no butters or any other caramel morphs that came out of that. So it's not related to caramel. And the Halo is in a lot of coral snows as well. So, if we're not seeing butters in every coral snow line. So it's not caramel that's causing it. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know what's causing it, but it's been around for a long time. Nobody's just really bothered to prove it out as a mutation. So I think that I've pretty well proven it out, at least to be dominant or incomplete dominant, or maybe co-dominant, but I'm not 100% sure at this point what it is.
And what is do you have for upcoming breeding season? Something that you want to test breed or whatever? Or make
I'm going to continue breeding the Halos, of course. You kind of wanted to talk a little bit about my sort of expensive morphs you mentioned. I have a tiny chunk of the possibly golden project. And I had a very large chunk of the project for a long, I don't want to say a long time, for a couple of years. I got some yearlings that were originally from Joe Pierce, who these babies were from when they test bred caramel with golden to see if it was compatible or not. And they are, in fact, different mutations. So these offspring, or I guess the adults that I have in this project are, they're definitely het for caramel, and they're also possibly het for golden. And I sold that project off, and of course I'm regretting it a little bit because now the hype is kind of going back up. But I just didn't have the means. I think I had almost a dozen snakes in that project, and just to kind of give you an idea of what's normal as far as how many snakes I have. I usually have about 10 clutches a year. I have like 10 females. And more than that, with just me, I'm the only one taking care of them. Plus, like, I own my own home and, other things, other life things going on. I just don't have the time to dedicate to more than like 10 clutches a year, give or take. So I have to be very selective with what I keep. And I just couldn't justify keeping a dozen normals that may or may not have some gene mutation, So I held back my two favorites that I had kind of bonded to a little bit. And so they are just a breeding pair. They breed every year. And so far, I'm pretty sure that one year the female gave me a couple golden babies. Not 100% sure because the babies just did not thrive. One of them had, I don't know if you've ever heard of hard belly.
Yeah.
It had hard belly where its yolk had calcified, and we didn't catch it in time to remove it, and it passed away. And the other one was doing pretty well for a little while, and then one day just was dead. Like, it was eating perfectly, it was no issues at all, and then one day I just went in and he was gone, and I don't know what happened. Vet said it was just failure to thrive. And vets say that they we do a necropsy and they're like, well, it could have been this, it could have been that, it could have been whatever. It's just failure to thrive. And it's hard. I don't really know. A lot of babies I've heard end up having like either kidney or liver issues, but I don't know if that's what's going on here or not. Regardless, they could have just been caramels. Because ever since then, the same pair has only produced caramels, motleys, and normals, and of course caramel motleys. So I don't know, but the golden project is one that I'm at least going to keep breeding that pair, even if they never give me another possible golden again. I really like them, and I like the babies they produce, and they also are yellow jacket. I don't know if you've heard of yellow jacket.
Yeah.
So they came from Joe Pierce, like I mentioned, and the caramel line that he used was one that he knew had Yellow Jacket in it. He and I talked about it not that long ago. And so both of my not both my females, both of my adults in that project are very yellow in comparison to the other normals that I have. And when their babies start to get older, some of them look like your average just normal, just, oh, he's getting cranky. The average is red, red on tan normal. But then I get some babies that are just really, really super yellow. And then I get some that are kind of like in between. They're not quite as yellow. So I think that both of my adults in that project are at least het for some dominant yellow modifying mutation. So even if they don't give me goldens, like they're still giving me some really nice babies, and their motleys are very, very, like they're variable. They're very variable. I've had some very perfect, just red, perfect motleys. And then I've had some that were very hurricane motley looking. Then I've had some pinstripe motleys come out of that clutch. Not just that clutch, but from that pair. And so, I'm going to keep breeding that pair just to each other, probably, because their babies are just cool. Even if there's nothing special in them at this point, I think that their babies are really neat. So other projects I have other than the Halo and the potential Goldens. Hold on, I'm putting him back. He's looking at me like he's going to bite my face. So he's never been the nicest snake. Part of the reason that he's literally the only reason that he's still here is because he's pretty, and he doesn't know that.
That's a good reason.
Yeah, it is a good reason. I wish he was nicer, but his dad was also really mean. His dad was that plain white snow, and I only got him for test breeding, and I did not keep him after that because he was the meanest snake. Probably not the meanest snake I've ever had, but one of the meanest corn snakes I've ever had. So I just decided probably not going to keep him. But he got his dad's personality, that's what I'm saying.
Damn it.
As far as other projects, I do a lot with Ultramel. I love anything with Ultramel. I have some Ultramel Oketees. I have 2 Ultramel Oketee females that I plan to breed with my Oketee Snow male. So I'll probably get some Halos in there, and always get some Ultramel Anery Oketees and stuff like that. I'd really like to produce reverse Oketees, but haven't ever really been able to successfully get that project off the ground. But we'll see. I mean, I breed what I like, and that's it. Right now I really only have space for about 3 projects. So the Halos and the possible golden caramels, whatever they are, and then my Ultramel mix of everything. Those are kind of my only 3 projects. I do have a pair of spotted pythons though. They are they're not quite 2 years old. I think that they're just yearlings, and they're doing really good. I love spotted pythons. They're the only kind of pythons I've ever really liked. So when they're old enough, I'll be breeding them as well. But for now, just raising them up.
Yeah, it takes time, but that's also part of fun. So
yeah, oh yeah, and you get to see how they change over time. And one of the most rewarding things for me is having a baby that is really, really mean and then grows up to be a very nice snake. I have one sun-kissed charcoal female that I guess that is a 4th project that I have. I have a project, I call it my Flare project because Flare was the original sire of the line. He was my first corn snake. He was a normal that I just got in a pet store. And when I started breeding, like actively breeding, I just bred him to a snow because I thought if there's anything in him, a snow is, those are common gene mutations. So we'll just see. And he produced aneries that year. And I said, okay, good. He's had aneries. So then the next year I bred him to an anery motley, and he ended up being het motley. And so then the next year I bred him to a granite, and he ended up being het diffused. And they both ended up being het charcoal. And one year I bred him to a ghost, and he didn't produce any hypos, but I kept a baby from that clutch, female. And so I bred him back to that female and found out that they're both het sun-kissed as well. So we have this male that I got from a pet store who was het for Amel, or not Amel, Anery, Motley, Charcoal, Sunkissed, and Diffused. And his daughter came from a Coral Ghost line, but the Coral Ghost mom was not very pink. She had red coat, but she didn't have red factor. There was no like extra pinks. It was just, she was a very dark ghost. And so she carries the red coat mutation as well. And so I've been holding back babies here and there from this project. And last year I held back 2 Charcoal Sunkissed, and I purchased a normal and an Amel that were het for Charcoal and Sunkissed, so that I could continue, get some new blood in the line, basically, because I didn't want to just keep breeding, siblings or father with daughter and stuff like that. So I got some new blood in, and then from this year, I kept some Aneries and some Charcoals and a ghost that came out of that project this year. The first ghost that's come out of the project since 2014. So I'm excited that we actually have a ghost, and she is very weird looking. I haven't had many ghosts, but she is a little strange. So I'm hoping that she grows up to be something special. I guess we'll see. It's not like a special, line like Mimosa is, in my opinion. It's just, I call it my flare line because that's just the sire that introduced all these gene mutations into my collection that I never intended to have. I never wanted to have Diffused. I never wanted to have Sunkissed. I never wanted to have Hypo. They were just mutations that I didn't like that much when I first started breeding, but I got them now. I didn't like Charcoal either because I thought it was difficult to tell the difference between Charcoal and Anery. So I thought, I don't want to mess with that, but he introduced that into my collection too, and that's okay. So I have that whole project that's sort of separate from everything else, except the Amel male that I bought from a friend last year to introduce the new blood in. He's also a Halo. And so he might end up being incorporated into my Halo projects in the future because, I mean, I bought him for the Charcoal and the Sunkissed, but I got free Halo, so I might as well use it at some point. So that's pretty much it, though. I mean, I probably have about 15 breeding adults and about 10 of them being females. So 5 males, about 10 females, all of which are in brumation right now. And then I held back, I want to say 7 or 8 from last year. And then another like 7 or 8 from this year are going to be held back as well. So I need to expand my space.
Yeah. I guess that's a problem for every snake keeper. Like, space, it's
yes. Always.
But usually snake keepers are also good at thinking, well, but if I make maybe a rec system here or put a terrarium here on top or on the bottom, and we are usually pretty good at finding space.
Yes we are. And if I just put in I have a kind of, the snakes are in a big like walk-in closet type area here, and they have a regulated heat and regulated UVB UVA light, and I mean, they're happy in there, I guess, but I'm like, okay, it's very small. It's a walk-in closet, but it's not huge. But if I put shelves up, then I have more space. And so I actually did add 2 shelves in that room, and there's one that kind of goes all along the top, and then there's another one that I kind of use like when I'm feeding them, I kind of use it as like a workbench, lay out all the rodents and feed everybody from there. So I have my kind of like baby shelf where I keep all the babies and the eggs up on top, and then I have my workbench underneath, and then all of the adults are just sort of in like racks in this kind of, I say it is a closet, but it's a big closet. It's one of those that like you could almost convert it into an office. So it's big enough that it works, but I don't know how long it's going to work if I keep keeping all of these snakes.
The babies are becoming bigger, but
yep, they only stay babies for so long.
Yeah, true. Oh well, that's also part of the fun. So yeah.
Yep, and who knows? Some of them may end up getting new homes in between now and breeding. Between now and 3 years from now, but we'll see. It's always hard to like have to sell ones that you wanted to keep, but it's okay.
All difficult choices sometimes. That's definitely true. But okay, well, I think this video is long enough for all the viewers now, because they made it until here. Good job, guys.
Yes,
but yeah,
thank you for being here.
Yeah. And well, I guess well, it's fun. Well, at least it was fun for me also to hear about how you guys do it over there, and well, and of course about the Halo and the Mimosa
Yes.
background. So well, I guess for now, thanks everybody for watching. Sarah, if they want to know more information about you and your snakes, where can they find you?
sarahssnakeshop.com. There is an H in my name, so it's SarahSnakeshop.com, all one word. Or you can find me Sarah's Snake Shop on YouTube. You can find me as Sarah Snake Shop on Facebook. I do have a couple of other little random places. It is Joy Princess Sarah, all one word, if you want to follow me on TikTok or Instagram. Those are a little bit more of a personal space, but that's kind of where, you know, you'll get to see more of my personality instead of just my snakes. So it's up to you there. I do have tie-dye shirts of my Snake Shop logo. It's just the snake. It's not the whole logo. So if you guys want, I am doing till the end of the year a discount code TD30 on my website for any merchandise that's on there. So I have shirts, I have notebooks, I have a few other things. I am working on modifying my book, and we'll probably have that back up for sale as well. Right now it is down for edits because I wanted to put out a new edition at the beginning of the year that has more accurate and updated information in it. So right now it's not available, but it will be available hopefully by the first of the year, crossing fingers, knock on wood, all that stuff. So how about you, Josh? Where can they find you?
Well, FutureMorphs.com. Well, you can find all my links there. I'm most active on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, but yeah, you can follow me there, but nothing spectacular will happen. But FutureMorphs.com, you can find all my links to all social media, a lot of free downloads about keeping snakes, also about the Mimosa, just about my experiences and stuff. So yeah, if you want to know anything, FutureMorphs.com is the place to be.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for doing this podcast with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you too. No problem, of course. And maybe if people like it or they have questions for us, we can do a part 2 someday.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody wants to leave a comment on either video, I'm always in my YouTube comments. So feel free to ask in there or whatever you like. Message me on Facebook, whatever works.
Yep. Okay. Well, thanks for the time. And well, we'll see each other maybe in the next video.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.